Sunday, 12th November. R.A.F. Lancasters take off on a 1,200-mile flight to Norway. 29 of the four-motored craft head for Tromsøy Fjord, where the Tirpitz, last of Germany's big battleships, had eluded two recent attacks. The first, on 15th September, was unsuccessful owing to an amazing smoke screen created by thousands of smoke pots. These pictures, taken from a reconnaissance plane at 13,000 feet, show how effectively the Tirpitz was concealed. No hits were scored by the R.A.F. on this run. In these British films, the Tirpitz is seen firing her 15-inch guns as the second attack was attempted on 29th October. Again the smoke screen, this time combined with bad weather, made bullseye bombing a hazardous venture. However, the R.A.F. managed to score one hit with a 12,000-pounder. As long as the Tirpitz remained afloat, she was a potential threat to the Russian convoy route, tying up strong forces of British warships in northern waters. She had to be sunk, and on 12th November, the Germans finally are caught by surprise. There is no smoke screen, and direct hits are scored. Flying between 13,000 and 16,000 feet, each of the 29 Lancasters looses a 6-ton earthquake bomb. The German battleship is hit at her bow, amidships, and toward the stern. This action was photographed simultaneously by two R.A.F. camera planes. Her guns are silenced, and the Tirpitz is again covered by smoke, this time from flames that seal her doom. Officially listed as 35,000 tons, she's believed to have been closer to 45,000. The warship heels over into the shallow fjord. The Tirpitz carried 1,600 men. When the Germans finally broke their silence about the ship, they claimed that a large part of the crew had been saved. Structural steel for all 6 Allied armies is made available as the Army sets up its own production 17 miles from frontline activity on the Moselle River. The management of the big plant at Dieperdange, Luxembourg, had been requested to operate blast furnaces, Bessemer converters, and the mill for rolling steel beams on an 8-hour-per-day basis. Iron ore from surrounding mountains is mixed with coke and limestone imported from Belgium. The output of the hot air steel works since the Allies took over has been chiefly heavy steel I and H beams for bridging water barriers before the Reich. Localized overseas production of vital engineering replacements obviously alleviates strain on the services of supply. On a normal crossing, a single Liberty ship can carry approximately the same tonnage as is turned out by the Luxembourg mill in a 2-week period. To haul this amount of heavy steel beams from docking points to the front lines would require 250 railroad flat cars. Royal Air Force film surveying damage to Belgian rail centers accomplished prior to 6th June. On the night of 1st-2nd May alone, these marshalling yards at Malines were struck with 510 tons of explosives by a bomber command force of 115 Halifaxes and Lancasters. Malines is on the main line between Antwerp and Brussels, and is also an important junction on the Ghent-Liège branch, running westward from the industrial Rhineland. Hasselt, key point on the northern route from Cologne-Aachen to Liège-Brussels-Paris. Bombing by the heavies of the R.A.F. and rocket bombing and strafing by Mustangs and Thunderbolts of the U.S. 9th Air Force helped pulverize these yards and shops. Hasselt is also the center of the Campine coal fields. Courtrai in West Flanders. Here near the French border, 3 lines from Ghent, Ostend, and Brussels converge for Lille and Paris. On the night of 10th, 11th May, R.A.F. heavy bombers unloaded 510 tons of bombs on the yards, repair shops, and warehouses located here. 10 nights later, a flight of 7 Mosquito bombers struck again, with each light bomber carrying 1 2,000-pound bomb. The Mosquitoes pinpointed key installations which had been repaired hurriedly by the Nazis. Heavy damage to marshalling yards and rolling stock at Louvain, where 2 north-south and 1 east-west railroad lines meet. The R.A.F. struck here with such telling effect that on 19th May alone, 3 Spitfires knocked out a train of 50 to 60 cars loaded with tanks. The Panzers were prevented from reinforcing Rommel's units deployed in support of the West Wall. Destruction of key points in the Belgian network of 6,800 miles of track complicated the supply and transport problems faced by the Nazis in France and in the lowlands. On 10th November, General Dwight D. Eisenhower rounds out an inspection tour of Allied units preparing for the mid-month general offensive against the Reich. The Supreme Allied Commander visited positions in France, Belgium, Holland, and Germany. Jeeps are left behind as General Eisenhower leads his party up a muddy hill to the command post of Major General Charles H. Gerhardt's 29th Infantry Division. At a review, General Ike chats with doughboys fresh from the front lines. The day before, at Brussels, he had told the Belgian Parliament, "We are fighting an enemy who understands only one thing, force, and we intend to apply force to the utmost." Flood conditions caused by torrential rains along a sector of the Western Allied battle line. This waterlogged highway is a main supply route and one of many roads along the 3rd and 7th Army fronts affected by late fall rains. It's the time of the great drives for Metz and Strasbourg. The flooded Moselle River inundates the countryside at Cavis on the 3rd Army front, submerging planes used to fly blood plasma and medical supplies to forward areas. The stream rose overnight, expanding its width from 50 to 1,500 yards. It's not known if the sudden rise was due to the heavy rainfall or demolition of a dam upstream. Aiming for a bridgehead across the Moselle, elements of the 90th Division prepare to negotiate the stream in assault boats. This ferry service was devised pending construction of a bridge by the engineers. A ramp is constructed to bridge an area between high ground and the assault boats. According to engineers, the river is 54 inches deep, just a little too much for jeeps, trucks, or tanks to try to ford. Efforts to provide a suitable span across the swollen river were met by enemy artillery fire. The ferry service gets underway, every inch of the crossing carrying a threat from floating mines and from Nazi artillery on the opposite bank. Heavy rainfall along another sector of the American advance delays the progress of line straightening operations. 48 hours of rain bogs down tanks, which were being used as artillery. A nighttime accident at Les Rougeaux. Hitting a soft shoulder, a wrecker belonging to a tank battalion turned over into an irrigation ditch, carrying with it a 2.5-ton truck. Despite rain and mud, Allied forces are moving forward on the offensive along the larger part of the 450-mile front.